EWiT. Thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity. So let me get started with, so I'll start with the second portion of the question, how I got here. So for me, for the longest time, I thought I wanted to be an individual contributor. So I love coding. I started my career coding, and I just loved it, and I didn't see the point in changing it. There is a legitimate career path as an individual contributor. But somewhere along the line, I realized that as a leader, even in early stage of leadership, you have a great impact on employee happiness, satisfaction, as well as the opportunity to change the company culture quite a bit. And that got me thinking that maybe I should try being a people leader, and let's see how can I do that. And one thing that I realized is you don't have to give up on your technology aspects. You can do both. So you can be involved technically and still be a people manager. I mean, the combination does exist. So that's how I decided to actively seek for opportunities that gave me that combination. So that's how I got here, and what keeps me going. So I think mentorship is very important to me. I have volunteered for Built by Girls, codepath.org. So I have been doing or trying to do mentoring for a long time. But what I get to do as a manager is mentoring comes as a part of the package. It's very natural. You have to do it as a people manager. But along with that, I get to be the sponsor. And this is something I realized very recently, so let me explain. So there is a difference between being a mentor and a sponsor. So mentor is someone who talks to you, shares some advice, talks about career strategies. But sponsor is somebody who talks about you to more influential people and actually can make like a tangible difference to your career path. And I get to be the sponsor. So that's what keeps me going.
Thank you so much, Ratusha. Saran?
Hey all, as Ratusha said, it is really an honor and privilege to be here. I have to be really thankful for that. But my story is definitely different from what she's shared. All along, I was very certain that I want to be a leader because I grew up that way. My parents were teachers, kind of a bossy girl at home, and a class leader, people leader. I thought, hey, leadership naturally comes to me, and I want to be in the driver's seat no matter what, because that's what well defines me. Though I started off my career as an individual contributor, I always felt like the driving something is what gave me a lot of satisfaction. Then I thought I have to gain some experience before I get into a leadership role. So I was just waiting for that right moment and the right opportunity. And once the right opportunity came, actually the right opportunity came twice, but I wasn't really ready. I was holding myself back, thinking that, oh, I have to prepare more. I have to really want everything to be ticked. A good team, a good project, and I want to good people around and whatnot. Whatever I know of, I had a checklist and I wanted to take it. And people said, hey, you're not realizing these opportunities are rare and you are denying some opportunities. I wasn't really sure what I was missing that time. But then one thing I was very clear is something within me is going to say, this is the moment I have to become an engineering leader. So that moment came, and then I became the engineering leader. Then whatever I had in my mind, whatever I thought of that role wasn't actually holding true, because it was a different thing altogether. It's about others. It's about me being selfless. It's no more that me factor coming in, right? Because a leader who is going to be very successful is going to be a person who is selfless and who is going to be really happy about others' success. My individual contributor days where if I just check in a code or if I push a feature to a production, then I'm very happy. I made my day. But in leader, it's about me pushing somebody to do something, and they have to do it. I can't do it. They have to do it, and then find a joy in that. Oh, is it what I really wanted? Maybe yes, maybe not. Then I also really started realizing it's a huge responsibility because I'm making decision on behalf of somebody. I'm making decisions which is going to change somebody's life, somebody's career. What is such a responsibility I have? I have to be really mindful of those decisions. I have to be out there, making them really successful in their career. And also I started understanding the difference between a manager and a leader. Then I realized all along I wanted to be a leader, not a manager. That is what is going to really give me that joy. So that is what actually motivates me to be a leader, to be there for people and find joy in other success.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Emily?
Yes, so nice to be here, and also so nice to have human contact after so long. It feels so good. Yeah, so I guess a couple of things I wanted to emphasize for what got me here. I think for one, in college, completely thought I was not a technical person, and kind of opted out of many technical classes that I could have taken. And it was only actually in my senior year there was a required class for kind of electives in tech. And I remember the teacher was actually a woman, which was awesome. And she ended up saying, the professor, I remember her coming to class with me and saying, we need more mediocre female scientists. I was like, what? And she said, yeah, she said, so many women opt out unless they think that they're very skilled at it. And so they don't ever even try. They think, I'm not going to be good at it, I'm not going to get an A in that class or get, excel in that role, and so I don't go for it. And she said, we need more people jumping in saying, I just want to be mediocre. So there are plenty of mediocre male scientists, but we need more women just trying and stepping into it. And so that really got in my head, and I started to, I got a job at Disney Imagineering right out of undergrad and was there for about 3 years, and actually started to build technology for the theme parks. And got fascinated at the role that technology can play with understanding people, which was what my original passion was, psychology and understanding human behavior. And so found this beautiful marrying of psychology with computer science, and got passionate about getting more women into this space. So about 7 years ago, I co-founded a nonprofit with a few other women focused on helping get more women into computer science. And we started to focus on high school women, college women, and actually now women in prison, helping them learn to code and then get career pathways into tech. And while I was in there, I just found that a lot of women were getting these jobs in amazing tech companies, and after about a year or two, they would leave. And a lot of them left because they lacked support around them. They lacked people in their corner or someone, to your point, sponsoring them and saying, you should get this role or you should be there. So that was when I founded PARA, that really focused on helping women and men get access to communities of support and connectedness within their organizations and across organizations. So that's been my guideline. And I think now kind of what's continuing to motivate me, even when I'm going into a pitch or going into a business meeting, I think part of I see some of the women that I worked with, and I think one of our focus areas was around helping women be brave, which has been a theme in some of the sessions so far. And so part of my impetus to lead well is to also be a role model for a lot of these students. And I was telling them to go do their own businesses, and I needed to do it as well myself. So.
Thank you all three for sharing that motivational little tidbit of your own experiences. What many professionals, they are so inspired by their leaders. And so I was hoping that each of you could just share a few examples of how you invest within your team and inspire them. Ratusha, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so how we do that, right? So in my team, so this is common, right? We insist that we have one-on-ones, common one-on-ones. So that happens, it's common. But what I try to do is I basically encourage them to initiate one-on-one at least once a quarter, which is dedicated to career one-on-one. Okay, so I want them to initiate that conversation, so I kind of nudge them to do that. And once they're ready to have that conversation, what we do is, so I learned it in one of the seminars, is there is a 3-part strategy to it. So it's before, during, and after, right? So before, it is their job to come up with what they want to do. Like it's a homework, like they need to know what they want to do, or what questions they have. And and I also do some homework, like if I have some specific feedback to give. But I do remind myself that this is not an annual evaluation or evaluation, right? So we need to get the energy right for this conversation. So it's going to have to be very friendly because they need to find it really safe to have the discussion started. So it's a feedback and it's honest, but it's not critical. So it's friendly, like you're talking to your child, right? How you advise them, or a best friend or sister. So that's how we start that. So that's the before. Then during, I try to do 70-30%. So 70% they talk, 30% I talk. So if they are being shy, they're just beating around the bush, not getting to the topic, I try to keep, their question, I try to keep feeding their question back to them, like you take the charge, you tell me what you want to do. So once you take the role of listening, it changes. Then they start talking, and I've had good success with this strategy. Like most of them have talked to me about what they want to do, wild ideas. So even some things have come up where they've said that, oh, I want to take the sabbatical. It's not about your promotion all the time, right? It's about different things. And then I come up with, generally, I try to give honest opinions about how it's going to be, like no promises made, right? But anything I can provide. Again, as accurate as I can. Most of the times I don't have answers to all of their questions, but these are the pointers, and we start there. And then there is after, where there are like some typical action items that come out of it, and some action items for me, for them, and then we try to connect all those action items again after the next career one-on-one. So it's a framework. It feels very rigid, but actually it does help to be accountable. So I try to encourage that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Sarah?
Nice. For me also it's somewhat like along the sidelines of her. But one thing I would like to share where it all started, especially as I said, I started really paying conscious attention to how people leaders should be. And I have to really thank my company for sending me a lot of leadership coaching sessions. In one of the coaching sessions, what we have done is they asked us to do a life map. They just gave a blank paper and a lot of crayons and markers and a pencil. Hey, start plotting the important events of your life, and also start calling out like what really happened and what you have done and what you have learned from that. And also they said start from your childhood until now, and you may not be remembering a lot of it. Only certain things really made a big impact, or the things actually going to come up because you didn't prepare to go for that exercise. You are just presented with a blank paper and you start doing that activity, right? Trust me, today when you just go, just don't have anything in the mind, start marking your life events, you might end up having like 5 or 6, which naturally would have happened, made a turn. On all other things, you would have just attempted to do some plan because you had a goal, and you might have like worked towards some way or the other. So this made a big impact on me. After going there, after coming from there, I started creating a one-on-one document for my teams and said like, hey, add your goal, and our one-on-one sessions are going to be more of talking about what personal or career goal you have and constantly track your progress and how you have achieved, and I'm going to really help you achieve that, and I'm going to see those opportunities, I'm going to provide those opportunities. So that's one stream of things how I kind of influence the team. The another one is I kind of immediately give the feedback. I don't really hold back. My feedbacks are very direct, and also I try to give it with examples. For example, if I have to tell somebody that you have to improve on your communication, I don't really go and say, hey, you have to work on your communication, you have to do well. It doesn't make any sense to that person, or what I am trying to give, it's not actionable. Whereas I just wait for that moment where that person performed some kind of presentation to an executive. I just wait for that right moment, And then the very next day, I kind of called for the meeting. Hey, you presented all these things extraordinarily well. We had only 10 minutes. You went detailed because all the engineers have like a lot of things to offer. We always like overboard with those details, but the executive may not have that time, right? The 10 minute is what we want to communicate, is what we need to communicate. And especially where I coach like a lot of engineers who are in the transition of senior engineer to a leader or an architect, they kind of struggle in this. But the minute you just give them the feedback with examples, they get it. Yes, I know what you're saying. I would have just got into those 5 bullet points from the very beginning, get-go. Then you'd have been a very impactful conversation. So I kind of do this often, where I will not miss that moment, because that moment is what is going to make them think. The minute they kind of understand, they think and they will be able to relate, then I feel that my job is done. They kind of know how to approach that problem. I'm not really here to tell them what to do. Just tell them that, hey, there is some problem, point out those things. Then they naturally develop that skill, build that muscle. So those are all the 2 things, like more in terms of providing feedback by examples and helping the team to have like a plan which we kind of together sign up for, and also constantly measure the progress.
Thank you so much for sharing. Emily.
Yeah, those are good. I think feedback is hard, especially in remote settings, but it's hard always. We're trying to, I think one thing we've been trying to do is figure out how do you give space for feedback more, and also space for just time to be together as a team. We're remote. I don't know how many folks in the room are fully remote or partially remote, but I think I spoke to someone the other day who was saying that he gives 10 minutes of buffer at the start of every meeting just to kind of talk about life and be human, and then to jump into the actual discussion about the meeting together. Now, that's maybe too much time, but giving whatever you can to actually be human and to converse together. I mean, at Para, part of the thing is we're really trying to practice what we preach, especially as a company focused in on helping connect and support staff. We have to kind of eat our own dog food, or at least that's the term that they taught me when I worked at Facebook, was to eat your own dog food with your product. But I think there's a truth in build for the problems that you have, and then to see if it works and try it out. And so one of the things that I try and do as a leader is actually find mentors for all of my team and make sure that they feel that I can be supporting them, but they actually, I think it's really helpful to have other voices and people in your corner helping push you forward and check in with you. So it's hard sometimes to find those people, and that's one of the goals of our tool, but it's so important to have people giving you feedback and almost your own personal board of advisors around you checking in on you. So I think that's been one piece that's been helpful. I think also kind of this human element of feeling like you can be human together and bring your full self, which I've realized really has then outputs on the kind of work that someone gives on a team. So I think that those have been 2 pieces that we've really focused in on, and I think have made a big difference.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's very important, that mentorship. Now, Emily, maybe we'll start from your side coming on over next. One thing that we would love to know from each one of you is that, what are some of the important traits that are important to be recognized as a leader?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I think my dad used to always say to me that the best leaders are strong and warm, and kind of having that time. I think sometimes, especially as women, there's kind of a tendency where we're taught we have to be kind and agreeable and pleasable, and I fall victim to that often. I know someone said, don't mistake kindness for weakness, but I do think that for me, I've been trying to kind of navigate those 2 lines for some time of how do I be clear and really moving forward in the direction and with strength, and also with compassion and humility and kindness. And I think those 2 need to coexist. I think too much of on either side, and not that they're totally opposites, but I think you can go astray and also lose connection with the people that you work with. I think for me, the other piece has been, as leader, I often say, and these in a lot of different terms, but they've been helpful for me, that like strong roots loosely planted. And I know right now as a leader, I have my own vision and I have my thoughts of what's going to work, but if I'm too rigid in that, we may actually go astray, or we may go too deeply in the wrong direction. And so I think having a voice and an opinion and clarity of direction, but also keeping that with openness of what your team thinks and what those around you may be directing or encouraging you to do, I think can have a big, important role to play. So I think that for me has been important, to have an opinion, to have a thought, to stand up and be clear and strong, but also to be open and to listen and to kind of move in that level. So I think that those have been a few principles that have really helped me as I'm going.
Very wise, thank you.
Thank you. And see, for me, the great leaders, the keynote speaker, and I was just listening to Nicole Brown, they just covered everything what we've been supposed to be saying here. But I'm going to relate to what I've been trying to build the muscle for, or how my brand is building up. Because every leader is unique according to me. They have to just play by their strengths. Yes, there is a school of book which you are going to try to follow and build muscle on. But a leader can be only successful when they identify their true potential and double down on it. For me, I cannot really beat around the bush. And in my initial times were very hard because I was very direct and just simply because I just get to the point and then try to give my opinion and feedback. Then when I was just trying to realize what kind of leader I want to be, then what is the good side of it if I really put it together? The good side is I'm a very transparent leader. So I can't really hide anything inside me. I cannot have an agenda. So when I started realizing that, when I started making my team realize that, being very transparent and direct, they kind of got into that mission. It started helping them as well because there is no surprises to them. I'm right now leading a project which is of spanning 2 years already. And we had a vision back in 2 years ago. Very few of us kind of knew that vision. But in order to onboard 60 other people, my transparency kind of helped them. Hey, this is where we are going to get to. This is our vision, and this is what we have. We have to live with this, and it is not going to be easy. We have to just do it out of passion. So me being very transparent and giving them what I know of, kind of onboarded them quickly, and they just started be with me. I just gained that strength. So being transparent is one. The other one is, as I said, I'm a big fan of teams doing things by themselves and individual understanding their goals. I kind of literally push them to the edge when I see the potential. While I'm doing that, I also want to be there for them. I push them to the edge, but I don't really take my hand off. Being there for them, and whenever they kind of are about to slip, I quickly give my hand, so that they kind of know she's going to be there, so I can try. They gain more confidence, they gain more comfort in trying new things. So that is what kind of my definition of being a recognized leader. And I'm sure everybody will have to find their own unique way of leading a team.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Ratuja, please.
Yeah, I think Emily and Sarah covered it. Amazing answers. I really agree with all of those points. So for me, I think the core definition of a leader, if we look at it, right, is someone who inspires and who has followers. So by definition, it's a very organic process. It's impossible to force somebody to get inspired by you or to let them follow you, right? It's not. So it has to be very organic and come naturally. And some of the qualities, I think it's going to be repetitive, but let me say that, right? I think they touched base upon all these qualities. But number one is humility. So leaders have great knowledge, some expertise in their area, and humility is very inspiring generally. So think about it. The last time you got inspired by somebody, it is very hard to be inspired by people with some air of arrogance around them. So humility is a very basic quality of a great leader. And I think the second one, like you mentioned, Sarah, I think selflessly giving. So leaders who are selflessly giving are the ones who who people want to work with or follow them, right? And leading with somebody who's able to lead with kindness. And again, that comes back to your points where they need to feel safe and secure in the presence, so they know that if something starts going south, nobody's going to throw them under the bus, but there is a support system out there. So these are the three qualities I feel are very important to be a good leader. Now, honestly, personally, I don't know. I want to be the one embodying all these qualities and then try for that. But whoever I follow, right? So there are the people who I look forward to, or look forward to attending the talks to, these two amazing women on the stage. So I just learning. So this is what I'm trying to get to. Yeah. So that's my definition.
Thank you all for sharing. Yep, that's so important to the team, right? But what about yourselves? So how do you, once you're in these positions of leadership, how do you continue to challenge yourself and grow once you're there? Please, Emily.
Sure. Yeah, I think for one, there's an element of just kind of continual learning and growing. I think for me, especially right now in this entrepreneurial journey, it's been such a gift to have people kind of who've been in the ropes and the trenches as well, and who can share their thoughts and their feedback. I know I just actually last night came back from we're part of a Harvard incubator that was helping us kind of surround us with support and just kind of coach us. And someone once said to me that they didn't think that you should do incubators because it was kind of too much advice. And I think for me, I'm at least in this moment where I just want to hear and listen and learn, even if it's different stories and different types of advice. I don't feel like I can learn enough. There's an element that for me has been helpful to kind of fill my cup and to feel like there are people around me as well. I think that there's also been just this element of our own self-care and growth. And this is a hard time, especially with kind of remote work and a changing world and a lot of external stresses, the whole, your own gas mask, well, your own safety mask before others. Not gas mask, hopefully. But just caring for your soul and yourself as well as those that you lead with. And so for me, it's been important to get up and move in the morning, or have, I know one of my workout buddies is in the room, but have accountability mates who kind of pull you out and let you get into the world and then come back to your work. So it's been helpful for me in my own leadership to learn, to grow, to care well for myself. I think one story that I forgot to mention at the start was when I told you that my professor had said, be a mediocre female scientist or aspire for that to start. I ended up going back to school about 5 years later to get my PhD in computer science. And it was one of those full circle moments where I was like, I'm going to learn this, and I may not know it, but I'm going to figure out how to do this, take this step to learn, and then figure out how to now do this as a career. And so I would just encourage you to, no matter what role you're in, that a lot of it is, taking that first step, giving it a shot to learn and grow, and surrounding yourself with kind of resources and support that are going to help push you forward, because you may not see the 10th step, but you can see that first step of where you need to go. So those have been helpful kind of for my own growth and pouring into myself.
Thank you so much. Sarah, we heard about how much you push your own team. How do you push yourself?
Yeah, as I said, I push, that means I'm also hard on me. But I would just say two things. I just make it very similar to Emily. One bucket is me, myself, how I can be that true, authentic myself, even at work. That's something which is very, very important to me. Early on in my career, I was trying to be someone else, because the definitions of leader, the definition of somebody who is successful, the definition of who we create as a brand. But quickly in my career, I would say, thanks to my mentors and coaches, I feel that's going to make a lot of impact within you guys who are very doubtful that I can become a leader one day, right? So as I said, I was a bossy girl growing up. And interestingly, everybody at my home kind of tuned to adjust, for me. My dad, my mom, my sister. Anything and everything just happened in my way. Looks like it seemed to happen in my way because they made those sacrifices. But when it comes to work, when it comes to team, it's not that way. You can't be like, no, it's my way or the highway. There is no way possible. It's team, it's we. But naturally, I have this personality. I'm very strong. I have an opinion. I have a vision. Those are all my strengths. How can I mellow down? That's going to be hard on me because I'm not that person. Then I was just telling my coach, hey, I have a strong opinion in this room, but I can't hold myself back just because I'm going to look asshole in that room. Then she said, who said bossy is wrong? I was like, maybe me. I told it to myself. Then she said, from now on, try to be a good boss. Try to be a good bossy. So that's what kind of pushes me every day. How to be a good boss. How I'm going to tell my team that, where I'm coming from. What am I seeing, which you guys also going to see along with me. That's a big thing on me actually, if you really see. But in that course, I'm enjoying because I'm not really giving up on anything who's me. I'm also trying to get better at that because I'm building the muscle every day. So that is what something I kind of do. Other than that, at least a general thing which I learned in my career so far, mentors, constant learning, and constant feedback. So, and don't discount the feedback. It has something to it. So just like try to understand how it resonates with you. Then only take that and start working on building that muscle memory. Once it becomes a muscle memory, you will just do wonders. And don't really stay away from your core values, your strength, because you're going to play by that. Anything is going to be an addition. So I always now try to see how I can put best of myself into the front every day so that I'm very successful in this role.
Thank you so much for sharing. And then Ratuja, I know that you put a big emphasis on humility, but please feel free to leave that at the door. I would love to hear all about how you really just challenge yourself as an amazing leader.
Yeah, so continuous growth, like they said, right? And so for me, I also am very focused. I think you have to make a focused effort to be on a career progression. You need to know what your goals are, long-term, short-term, and it needs effort, it needs homework. So the one-on-one framework that I mentioned before, right? I am also on the other side of that framework. So I do initiate quarterly conversations with my manager very consciously. And it's all about hey, am I on this path? Or if, let's say there was something that happened in those 3 months, some project got delayed or something went great, both ways, right? So we talk about it. Hey, how could I have done it differently? So I ask for feedback. So sometimes you need to go and ask, and it's uncomfortable, and if it's not positive, it's very, very, it puts you down, even though you asked for it and you thought you were ready for it, it still hurts, but go for it. It's important that you do that. So that continuous feedback loop is important, and it's in your hands. There will be some very proactive leaders and managers that I think will be willing to do that for you, but generally you have to initiate it yourself. Second, mentorship, right? So I do feel it's extremely important to go seek mentors. So I do try to do that. I'm here, it's amazing how many great women I've met, these two on the stage, and all of you. I'm going to talk to all of you, try to talk to all of you and learn from you. So seek mentors. And one very important, and it's a tangible advice I'll give you, that I received from my mentor about 3 years ago. So you have to be able to talk to your skip levels on a regular basis. Okay, it's important to be able to connect to someone who's above your manager, and you don't have to do it behind your manager's back. It is normal. We have to normalize it. And the reason you would do that, and I do like monthly one-on-ones with my skip level, because it's just important. They just have a wider point of view about the organization. You just get a different perspective, and you just need to know where you fit in that puzzle. and that answer comes very strongly to you. So it's important to have those conversations with not just your manager or your line of managers, but someone else in the organization. So just be aware, initiate it, and that's what I keep doing in my career and my career progression.
Thank you, all three of you, for sharing. I feel like each one of you are sharing your own unique perspectives and experiences, and I love each one of your different approaches as well. So again, thank you for your time and your participation today. You truly are extraordinary women, extraordinary leaders, each and every one of you. We hope that your stories have inspired the guests here today, so thank you everyone for joining, and that you spark something in someone. Now I believe we have some time for some Q&A, some questions. Would anyone like to raise their hand, and we can have some answers for you?
I know most of the names, but I'd like to, should I get the mic to ask one? If you don't mind, we'll start with the
It's for all of you, so whoever feels comfortable, answering. My question is, as a leader, we are living in uncertainty, right? And this is on a personal level, professional level, and even professionally, we go through a lot of uncertainty. So you, the three of you leading teams, how do you encourage your team? How do you lead them when plans don't go as planned, or they're not able to reach, some goals, some numbers? They are working, but some things are beyond their control. So what advice do you give them, or how do you, lead a team in a situation like that?
I can say this one,
Yeah,
if you want to jump in.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think especially in the nature of a startup, there's a ton of uncertainty, as well as you're totally right on the world and kind of every other element alongside of that, and our own personal kind of needs as well. So I think one of the things that we've worked on is kind of bringing your full self to work, and I think sometimes the problem is when you don't vocalize those concerns, or as a team, if we don't talk about some of the glaring kind of roadblocks we might hit along the way. I think that's one of the things that's been helpful, is just actually talking about it and like owning some of the fears and saying like, that's a fear and that's there. It doesn't mean we shouldn't keep going, but we should work on how we're going to work with it. I'm also, part of me is an athlete, and actually one of my volleyball teammates, Chelsea, is here. We put together. But I think one of the things that has been equipped to me from athletics is this element of like, you're going to lose a lot of games, you're going to hit a lot of, misses and a lot of balls that go out, and that's just part of the process. And so I think the kind of resilience mindset is one that and growth mindset in many ways is one that I try and, both for myself and in the team, kind of instill, because you kind of need to hit a lot of outs to understand what's wrong, what's not working, in order to then get to what is and will work. And so for me, that's been important to, through sales and through pitches that have gone wrong and through, all parts of it, that is so normal. And so normalizing that and actually owning and talking about it and vocalizing it has been helpful.
Yeah, for me, I'm sure many of in the room would have already imagined how I would have react to those failures, because I'm a person who's going to push, and I'm a person who's going to be very strong. But how I handle it is, I think Ranchan has talked, find the humor. Because there is going to be a tension around, so find the humor in that and just like diffuse that. They kind of figure it out by themselves, and also being there for them. It's not anybody's fault. We made a best effort and we did what it needs to take. Even then it's not going as we planned, that is okay. But we can't give up the grit. Right? Again, come back, and the team is going to need an energy booster, and you have to role model it, no matter what. Though I have a lot of pain, I have a lot of stress, I have a lot of pressure from the top down, I can't reflect any of that to my team. I still supply them with a lot of energy and strength, so that they are prepared, they are not like going down, they are ready to take on, because the challenge is still on.
question. So we spoke a lot about doing mistakes and how you're ready to support your team. So like I'm trying to do some kind of give the team the autonomy, and like would you prefer to let the team make a mistake so that you will all learn as a company, we will all learn as a company, and maybe it's not going to be the mistake? Or would you like step in and tell them that it's going to be the mistake, don't do that? How would you behave in this situation?
I can try to answer that question. So honestly, if someone is mistakes is a good way to learn, right? So we learn, we make mistakes and we learn. But learning from somebody else's mistakes is smarter and it's more efficient. So if someone is making a mistake and I know it because maybe I have done it in the past or I've seen someone else do it, I do intervene because you know, it's a discussion, but I do intervene because I think they still learn because they would know what would go wrong in the future. So I think the learning process still happens and you do save some energy and resources and the process becomes efficient. So it's practical, I feel, personally from my point of view, to intervene and let them not make that mistake. But there needs to be an explanation, talk, a discussion around it.
Just one addition to that. I know I felt that when leaders really believe in me and I kind of feel that their belief, I think it's like the greatest gift of a leader to say, like, I believe in you and I know you're going to figure this out. But I totally agree. I think there's an element of saying, like, here's what I learned. Sometimes mistakes, you know, even if you try it the second time in the same way, it can work. You know, it depends on what the challenge is. So I think there's an element of like expressing and showing belief, but also some warning to add to what you said.
Just to add, for me it also like when, if it is a small mistake, it's okay to know, let that person try and figure it out because that's going to give that experience. I don't want to steal away that experience from that person. But at the same time, the mistake is going to be costly, and if that person is open to hearing, I just like give my wisdom of advice. Even then, that person is like very kind of strong in their thing. Then I also try to see there could be something which I am not seeing, and try to learn from that person, and then be again there for that person to help and not to repeat the same mistake what I have done or I have seen others doing. But to me it is more of situational.
Thank you, ladies. This has been a great presentation. Really enjoyed hearing your stories. Because it's called Woman to Woman, how we can support each other and our colleagues, I would like to just call out that Emily Harper is an entrepreneur, has developed an amazing software application that helps organizations implement mentoring programs and sponsorship and advocacy. And so if we want to help her, you take her card from her thing out there, and who do you target? HR? Who do you target? HR. So if you're working in a company that wants to do a better job with mentorship and sponsorship, take that card or tell them to go and look at her software. And we can help her grow her business. And I think that she's doing a wonderful thing, solving a problem for organizations who want better mentorship and sponsorship internally. So thanks.
Good for you.
It didn't pay her to say that. Thank you so much for saying that. I will be at the booth if you want to talk more.
Yeah, it's actually really good, especially women helping women, paying it forward. It's critical. Why there are very few women leaders out there? It's because we are not sharing our experiences. We are not giving that comfort feeling that it's possible. It's not something like very different. A normal individual can do it. So kudos to you. A big first step.
Thank you so much.
Again, thank you all three of you for sharing your amazing stories. Very strong leaders. Oh, one more, yes. We have time for one more.
I have a question for all three of you. I guess it's a two-part question. What women have made the most impact in your life? Can you share any stories on that? And it doesn't have to be a woman that you have that has pushed your career directly, but even like an inspiration. If even if you can't name a woman, who has directly impacted your career or a sense of revelation about your superpowers, someone that made an impact in your life. I would like to know.
For me, it's not a woman. For me, it's my dad. He's an inspiration from my childhood. He kind of, I would say, sculptured me from the beginning, where he gave me that courage, where this is not a boy thing, you can do it. That's how the bossy lady in me came off. Because he lost his son just 2 weeks old, hence, what he got a baby girl. In India, it's a big thing, having a boy and losing him and just compromising with the girl. It's not easy. Maybe that's what motivated him, I do not know. He kind of said, there is no difference. You can try, there is nothing that girl cannot do it. So that confidence he gave, and also he kind of helped me believe that. It's just not only that he said and done, in every time, he kind of made me remember, it's okay, you can do it. It's not that hard, you can know. I'm not a native English speaker, but I do really speak well in my native language. Then I was always telling my dad, I couldn't really articulate this well. He said, no, language is a communication medium. If you're all able to connect with somebody, that is what it all takes. So every piece of his advice kind of helped me grow a better person, better leader, kind of made me believe that who I am today.
Sure. So for me, see, I've read books, I listen to the women. They're all great women right there, right? Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, all these great names. But I think it starts at home. So for me, my mom is somebody, and she's not a software engineer. She's a teacher. She retired as a school teacher back in India. But as long as I remember, she worked. As a result, I remember coming home alone and staying home alone. With lots of instructions, lock the door, don't open it for the strangers, fixing my own food. So when I was growing up, I realized that this is normal, this is okay, that's what parents do. She struggled keeping it up with her job, with us, me and my sister. We turned out to be just fine. And when I have 2 children, and when I struggled with them, with the routines and all the struggles, I don't even want to get into the list. You guys know if you have children. I feel like somewhere back of my mind, I know that it's going to be just fine and okay, because I've seen my mom do it, and I think that's inspiring.
Okay, I can do very quickly. Yeah, I think I'll just say that my first boss at Disney was someone who I just felt her believe in me. Like, it was such a gift to have someone, and she was the only female leader in all of the VPs within Disney Imagineering. But I could just feel her trust. It was such a gift to have that from a leader, from a boss. And she also, to the sponsor point, was saying, apply to this program, look at this thing, you should do a company someday, just kind of guiding and pushing. So I think the more we can kind of, I want to continue to pay that back and do that with every woman and man, but a lot of, right now I'm particularly focused on women, that works for me to do that same, instill that belief and push them forward, help them find pathways.
Yeah, absolutely. We really are just so amazing, just human beings and people, and we really can do whatever we set our minds to. And it's great to see that, it started from the home, or why it's so important to have men in our corner backing us up as well. But of course, thank you so much for sharing your stories. Again, truly amazing leaders, and we look up to you. So thank you for paving the way.